What happens when love collides with a billion-dollar safety net and only one person is fully protected? That's the question surrounding the marriage of Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz. At first glance, their relationship looks like something out of a modern fairy tale: fame, wealth, luxury, and global attention. But behind the glamorous headlines lies a far more complicated reality. One that, according to multiple reports, has left David Beckham and Victoria Beckham quietly concerned about their son's financial future. Because this isn't just about love, it's about leverage. Reports suggest that Brooklyn entered the marriage with a prenuptial agreement that heavily favors the Peltz side. If the relationship were ever to end, Brooklyn would reportedly walk away with very little compared to the scale of wealth involved. He is said to have no claim whatsoever to the Peltz family fortune. Instead, he would only be entitled to half of any income that he and Nicola earned together during the marriage as a couple or brand. No access to inherited wealth. No share in family assets. Just a split of what they built jointly, and nothing more. To really understand why this matters, you have to look at the numbers. The Beckham family, despite decades of global success in sports, fashion, and business, is estimated to have a net worth of around $450 million. But on the other side stands Nicola's father, Nelson Peltz, a billionaire investor reportedly worth approximately $1.60 billion. That's not just a difference. It's a gap of over $1 billion, and according to insiders, that gap changes everything. It creates a power dynamic where, financially speaking, one side holds significantly more influence than the other. Some sources have even gone as far as to say that Brooklyn's long-term financial position is, to a large extent, tied to the Peltz family. In other words, if the relationship were to break down, he could find himself in a far more vulnerable position than many would expect, especially given the public perception of the Beckham name, and that's exactly what has reportedly worried David and Victoria behind the scenes, not because they doubt the relationship, but because they understand how quickly circumstances can change when legal agreements are involved. Those concerns didn't stay private for long. Tensions within the family appeared to escalate when Brooklyn publicly addressed his parents in a now viral Instagram story. In it, he accused them of years of control and claimed there had been ongoing disrespect toward Nicola. The post quickly spread across social media, turning what may have once been a private family disagreement into a very public situation. For fans, it was unexpected. For the family, it was reportedly painful, and for observers, it raised an even bigger question: was this just emotional conflict, or was there something deeper influencing the divide? To understand the full picture, it helps to go back to the beginning. Brooklyn and Nicola began their relationship in 2020. Within a relatively short period, they became one of the most talked about young celebrity couples. Their engagement followed soon after, and in April 2022, they officially tied the knot. The wedding itself was nothing short of extravagant. Held in Palm Beach, Florida, the event reportedly cost over $3 million and was featured in British Vogue. From designer outfits to a star-studded guest list, everything about the ceremony reflected luxury at the highest level. But while the visuals told a story of glamour and perfection, the legal structure behind the marriage painted a more calculated picture, because behind every high-profile union like this, there's often a carefully constructed agreement designed to protect wealth, and in this case, that protection appears to be heavily one-sided. The prenup reportedly ensures that Nicola's inherited wealth remains completely separate. No matter what happens in the future, those assets are protected. For Brooklyn, however, the situation is very different. Without access to that wealth, his financial position depends almost entirely on what he builds independently or alongside Nicola, and that's where the imbalance becomes most visible. Nicola Peltz herself has an estimated net worth of around $50 million. She built her career through acting, with roles in Transformers, Age of Extinction and the TV series Bates Motel. Beyond acting, she has also been involved in modeling and other ventures, contributing to her personal wealth. Brooklyn, on the other hand, is estimated to be worth approximately $10 million. His income comes from a mix of photography, modeling, brand collaborations, and digital content. One of his most notable projects, Cooking with Brooklyn, reportedly cost around $100,000 per episode to produce, highlighting both ambition and the scale of investment behind his ventures. But even with those earnings, the financial gap between the two sides remains significant. And for David and Victoria, that's where the real concern lies. From their perspective, it's not about questioning the relationship, it's about understanding risk. They've spent decades building a global brand, managing wealth, and navigating public life. They know that financial protection isn't just a technical detail, it can shape outcomes in ways people don't always anticipate. Reports suggest that Victoria, in particular, was deeply affected by how everything unfolded publicly. Seeing family tensions play out on social media, combined with underlying concerns about her son's position, reportedly left her emotional, because at the end of the day, beyond the headlines and speculation, this is still a family dealing with very real dynamics: loyalty, trust, independence, and control. And that brings us back to the bigger picture. High profile relationships often come with complex financial structures. Prenuptial agreements, asset protection, and wealth management are all part of that world, but when there's a significant imbalance, when one side holds substantially more financial power, it can shift the entire dynamic of a relationship, not necessarily emotionally, but legally and strategically. In the case of Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz, that imbalance is hard to ignore. On one side, a global celebrity family with immense success. On the other, a billionaire-backed legacy with even greater financial strength, and right in the middle, a marriage that blends both worlds, while keeping their financial foundations distinctly separate. For David and Victoria, the concern is simple. It's not about love. It's not about fame. It's about what happens if everything changes, because when you strip away the headlines and the glamour, one question remains: who really holds the power when the stakes are this high?